Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It is wonderful to welcome you here on this chilly Friday night, though not so bad in the room. I promise you, for those who kept your jackets on, it will get colder in the room as the service goes on. But we are thrilled to have you here. We're thrilled to have Becky Mann back with us for the first time in 2022, I think, actually. And we have a bat mitzvah this Shabbat. We have a baby naming this Shabbat. We have a lot going on. As of this week, our task force has upgraded our policies, and I just want to state, as hopefully the ushers did as you came in, but this is for those joining us online and thinking ahead as well, that at the moment, if you're coming to services, we'd like you to be fully vaccinated and boosted if eligible, and that everyone in the room should actually have upgraded masks at this point, KN95, N95, or if you are in a surgical mask, that you've got a surgical mask and a cloth mask tightly over it. We're just looking out for all of us at this time, which we appreciate. As we turn to our service, we're well aware that we gather, shall I say, a week after last week. And so we're going to weave that reality through our normal Shabbat service as well. I begin with a poem not in your books. Alden Solovey for Colleyville, Texas. He's actually a poet who lives in Israel who had been a scholar in residence at Beth Israel in Colleyville, Texas a number of years ago. To those of hate and terror in any land of any faith, you will not succeed. To the anti-Semite, my people have seen your kind for generations. We have outlived you all. To our Muslim and Christian brothers and sisters who abhor violence and eschew hatred, let us extend our hands to one another so that this community can heal, so that throughout the world we can become a shining light of blessing. Adonai, see, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God shall keep you from all evil. God shall keep your soul. As we gather together, happy to be together as a community, we turn to page 10, Hine Matov.
Open
setting of Hine Matov, composed by our own Becky Mann, we turn to our celebration with our bat mitzvah family. Our bat mitzvah this Shabbat is Bella Polera. Let me invite Bella and her parents Dana and Brian to the upper bima for candles, followed by Kiddush. You can turn in your books to page 3. It'll be followed by page 2. You're good, you're fine.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us.
As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Page 4, please rise. Brian first.
We
Brian
invite
and
first to
Dylan.
share a reading, and then Bella will lead us in Kiddush. And Bella, we have your very own Kiddush cup for you. Do you have that with you there? There it is. It should have your initials on it. Check and make sure they're correct. Awesome. It's our hope that when you use this cup, you will be reminded of the joy of your bat mitzvah weekend and of your Baltimore Hebrew community throughout your life. So we invite you to join us now in a Kiddush reading, followed by Kiddush.
And there was evening and there was morning the sixth day. The heaven and the earth were finished and all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing.
And God ceased on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on it God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho, be'ahava v'ratzon, hinkilanu, zikaron lema'aseh b'reishit, ki hu yom tehillah lemikra'ei kodesh, secher lisiyot Mitzrayim, Chivan levacharta v'tonu kidashta mikol ha'amin, v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'ratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh la'Shabbat.
Amen.
L'chaim.
Chaim.
Please be seated. And please turn to page 6. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves together. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human heart, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. Page 24, Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharetz, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh, Hakadosh Baruch Ruachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malachei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharetz, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Marchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharetz, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Shuvchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharetz, Malachei Elyon, Melech Malchei Hamlachim, Hakadosh, Hakadosh Baruch Hu.
We include in our service this Shabbat a baby naming, actually the second baby naming of this 2022 in the sanctuary. Let me invite Brooklyn Elizabeth Johnson up to the bima with her parents, Sarah and Rico. What a way to affirm the life-affirming nature of how we celebrate in this time with our first bat mitzvah of this secular calendar year. And and this baby naming. She's been making her dad get a lot of exercise back there, actually. Every child comes into this world with a message.
Yes, you.
We practice that. That God is not discouraged with us, for with every child comes the hope of new possibilities. Every child brings fresh energy into the world for greater fulfillment and purpose to all the lives that surround it. Each new soul is testimony to our conviction that we still believe that life is good, that life is worthwhile, that hope is here, that hope is our celebration as we give that hope a new name. Sarah, go ahead.
For the gift of this child, we give thanks. May we be worthy of the blessing and responsibility of parenthood. We hope that our daughter will grow into a secure and loving individual, bringing joy to all who will know her. May our daughter be a source of blessing and honor to our family, Judaism, and all humanity.
Rico.
Grant us the wisdom and understanding to help our daughter grow with intelligence and compassion. May we guide her development into a confident and caring person. As much as we hope to teach her, may we open to all that our daughter will teach us. We are thankful for this gift of joy and life.
Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu kayam et yalda hazot leviah ulima vayikra shma v'Yisrael mehira bat Sarah v'Del Rico yismach ha'av v'yotzat chalatza v'tekel ima b'pri b'itna zot katana gedola tiyeh kashem sheniknasa lebrit kain yikanes l'torah l'chupa l'masim tovim. Our God and God of our ancestors, sustain this child, Brooklyn Elizabeth Johnson, through her parents' loving care, and let her also be known among our people by the name Mehira Bat Sarah Videlrico. May her name be a source of joy to her and inspire her to serve our people and all humanity. May her parents rejoice in her growth of body and soul as they bring her into the covenant, so may they be blessed to enjoy with her and with wisdom and patience a life of Torah, a life of good deeds, and of relationships worthy of God's blessing. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Sarah, if you want to decide, I'm doing it. Pardon me. I don't remember what I write, and I don't remember what I discuss. I just want to point out names are not coming out of thin air, and Brooklyn's name is Elizabeth. I think the middle name actually is from her great-grandmother's name, actually, who the family remembers now. 2 years ago, Becky was living in Brooklyn, but she doesn't live there anymore, so she moved over the bridge, so that doesn't work. And her name, Mehira, is a name of quickness and speed, which is, I gather, how she gets around in the house and what she does, but we hope it speaks to a life of blessing as well. Let's join together in Shechianu, Baruch Ata Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Shechianu v'hirmanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. We praise you, O God, source of the universe, for giving us life, for sustaining us, and for enabling us to reach this season. And now I'm honored to bless this child with blessings that her mother has received in this room, as we congratulate her whole family, but congratulate her grandparents who are members, Sandy and Sue Bucksbaum. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, may God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha, may God's presence shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom, may God's presence shine upon you and grant you and all who love you God's gift of peace. Amen. Mazel tov.
We join together in Siman Tov Mazel Tov. Siman Tov Mazel Tov Mazel Tov. Siman Tov Mazel Tov Mazel Tov. Siman Tov
and
Mazel Tov Mazel Tov. Siman Tov Yehelanu
Yehelanu, Yehelanu,
B'chol Yisrael. Yehelanu Yehelanu B'chol Yisrael. Yehelanu Yehelanu
We turn to page 28 with smiles on our faces from that child as we rise for Baruch Hu. Page 31, together. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars, creator of the tide of time and light. You guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. We turn to page 34 as we continue with the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levacha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha v'chayu hadvarim ha'ele asher Anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinatam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'beitecha u'v'letecha b'derech u'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha v'chayu totafot b'neinecha u'ktavtam al mezozot beitecha u'visharecha leman tiskaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kedoshim le'Elohechem ani Adonai Elohechem asher hoseti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihyot lechem le'Elohim ani Adonai Elohechem.
Page 39, responsively. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages the vision of your world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace.
Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea. Page 40. As we turn to page 43, words from Rabbi Stephanie Crawley of Temple Micah in D.C., entitled Grace World. On some Sunday mornings, my dad would get up early, put on his uniform, and drive to a local church to direct traffic. On some Saturday mornings, my dad would get up early, put on his uniform, and drive to our synagogue, not to pray, but to stand guard. Sometimes I'd leave services in the middle to watch him. I saw how his shoulders would tighten when a stranger passed, when a new car pulled into the parking lot, and then release when they turned around, or drove away. The church was called Grace World. They were so lucky to live in that world. The good grace of only having to worry about fender benders, of a clogged path of cars on the way out. None of that grace for our synagogue. Instead, a world of carefully locked entrances, a sacred fortress. It could happen here, thought, but never said. It never did, not to me, not there. Is that all the grace I can hope for? Hashkivenu.
Continue with the English words on page 43.
Turn now to tefillah as we think of prayers of history and ancestry, prayers of holiness and strength, and ponder what brings us forward in life. Page 46, please rise.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Mekoneh Hakol, Mezocher Chastei Avot ve'imachot, ומביא גאולה לפני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל, אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מכלכל חיים בחסד, בחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים לרופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשמי עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי
הכל. Page 55, please be seated. Together, may these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. And may all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh ha-Shabbat. Page 57, continuing together in the middle. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still clear voice within us. Therefore, God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, sholcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. Page 60, a prayer for peace.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim
continue with a moment for silent prayer.
יחיו לרצון אמרי פי והגיון ליבי לפניך אדוני צורי
Turn to page 253 for our prayer of healing. Gail Adamson, Nathaniel Agan, Amanda Arold, Sam Bach, Shelley Bloss Bernstein, Jacob Bennis, Bella Berman, Cindy Blake, Justin Bridle, Dale Bookbinder, Christian Burdett, Edamindal Barchana, Natalie Conrad, George Dover, Evan Dime, Sherry Einhorn, David Elkis, Bob Fitchett, Elaine Gammerman, Lynn Garrison, Roseanne Gerstel, Athene Goldstein, Claire Goldstein, Arnold Gresser, Dr. Richard Gross, Bonnie Jacobson, Arnold Katz, Lenny Kinlan, Joseph Klein, Buzz Kolodny, Rachel Letterman, Linda Lefman, Christopher Madiri, Tzipora Bela Malka, Barry Mendelson, Sandy Minkin, Nachum Yisrael, Ben Yeshua, Mayor Vishendel Rachel, Craig Parham, Susan Samuels, Ruth Subert, Mary Shearson, Elizabeth Smith, Amy Sponseller, Ricky Stewart, Peter Street, David I. Tossman, Leslie Waldman, Donna Wasserman, Arlene Weiner, Emma Weinstein, Ryan Wills, Trudy Yohei, and Warren Yuspa.
Those in need of healing with refuah shema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirits, and let us say
This week's Torah portion, Parshat Yitro, is pretty noteworthy. Just think 10 Commandments, Mount Sinai. However, last week's Torah portion was pretty moving as well. And let's be honest, most of us have been thinking more about last Shabbat than this Shabbat, this week particularly. So last week, Parshat Bishalach includes the actual exodus from Egypt, including the singing of the Micha Mocha, which we just did a little while ago. However, soon after, in the very same Torah portion, we arrive at Exodus 17. And there we read, just after we've got out of Egypt, we read Amalek came and fought with Israel. As so often is the case in life, last week's Torah portion is putting forward the reality of bittersweetness that comes with us in different mixtures at different points. Last week's portion pairs for us the absolute high of redemption and the desperate low of finding oneself under attack. As we consider our own lives in the mirror of the thankfully resolved hostage situation at Congregation Beth Israel in Colleyville, Texas, let us ponder both sides of this equation, the high and the low. At the beginning of last Saturday morning, the rabbi of that small Reform synagogue in Texas followed the values of his congregation of Judaism. He allowed entrance to a man who appeared to be in need. This action speaks to the values expressed through the Exodus, including the 10 Commandments and the crossing of the sea. We don't care for ourselves alone. Our prayers are not just about our own spiritual well-being, our own seeking for God. For example, just this month, BHC members are donating casseroles to Our Daily Bread and blood to the American Red Cross, and we found out just at the end of the week that we have actually been paired with a refugee family setting our project just birthing of an Afghan family welcoming circle in motion. A parent, 3 children, not as young and cute as the baby we named today, but a family coming to us in need. And we will help their transition into Baltimore and American life. And I'll admit, just as I mentioned other donations, we need some financial donations to make this happen as well. Now, these actions I've just described, they're just the tip of the iceberg of what we or any other congregation might do. But I do note that an iceberg is a fitting image for today, yes? Rabbi Charlie Citron Walker, the rabbi in Colleyville, Texas, shared the following prayer with his congregation when it was gathered in a neighboring Methodist church 2 days after the hostage crisis. We are not helpless. We bring healing with Band-Aids and hugs, a cup of coffee and chicken soup. We are not helpless. We bring healing with a text, a call, a card, a response that says, "You are not alone." We are not helpless. We bring healing with acceptance, patience, and understanding for ourselves and for others. We are not helpless. We bring healing with words of compassion and acts of compassion, reaching out with care and love. We are not helpless. We bring healing to heart and mind, body and soul. We bring healing every day. We are not helpless. As a congregation, as Jews, we understand the importance of the actions he describes. They are not Jewishly unique. But for us, they are drawn from our mitzvot, from our obligations as a faith community. Now, I feel the overlap with other faith communities, as I have heard from colleagues this week, of their concern. And I remind us that when we just sang Debbie Friedman's Misha Berak a moment ago, we were not only praying for healing for our friends and families, those names I read, or names you had in your heart, but rather, we also included the line in that song, as it's always there, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. Even at the moment we're thinking of the need for healing for others, We are thinking also of the actions and intentions of our lives that bring blessings to the reality about touching the larger world, the unknown, and those we know. As I believe I said last Shabbat, and as we rabbis often remind you, our remembrances of the Exodus throughout the year, Seder, and our prayers are not meant to make us remember the good old days of being redeemed. They're a reminder about what we're supposed to do now and moving forward towards future redemption. Now, at the same time, I can talk about all those values and actions, all those donations. Last week's Torah portion brings us into Sinai, and as I said, immediately under attack. The Deuteronomy version, while not last week's portion, the Deuteronomy version of the same passage of our first encounter with Amalek is actually all the sharper. It retains a painful memory and brings a sense of warning. Deuteronomy 25 states, "Remember what Amalek did to you on your journey after you left Egypt, how undeterred by fear of God, Amalek surprised you on the march when you were famished and weary, and cut down all the stragglers in your rear." The legacy of Amalek is seen in every act of persecution against the Jewish people across history, every act of terrorism against a synagogue. It animates our people understand it. It animates the reality of anti-Semitism. And we might even see our vulnerability expressed in singer Andra Day's lyrics. I admit I've never heard of this singer, but Becky introduced me to her. It brings us to Andra Day's lyrics, broken down and tired of living life on an merry-go-round. At moments when we are like the weary stragglers, that is when Amalek strikes. This real and vicious possibility is why synagogues have security committees and protocols. It's why we train clergy, staff, ushers, even lay people more on future trainings to come in the near future. And I'm not publicly going to detail our reactions, our security protocols as a whole, because we've been told not to. But we so deeply appreciate those from within and without who guide us, and as you see them come in, who protect us. We are not alone, but most houses of God don't need to take these precautions in this country. Most of those who gather and teach their children don't have to suffer through their own bad dreams and worry about their children's nightmares. But we do, and it is not new to this year or to our generation. It is not new to the moment, even if some of this hatred comes from within Islam, as with last Shabbat, and some of it comes from the right and some of it comes from the left. It's not new. Even in the shadow of greatest tragedy, however, those building BHC and other synagogues in America in the 1950s couldn't imagine that there wasn't a reason to fill our room with windows open to the light and to the air and to all that it might bring. Today we take actions to make sure that our doors are sealed and that we know who enters, since we can't always know their intentions. For thus we are commanded in the Torah to remember Amalek, to blot out his memory, to defend ourselves, if you will, against Amalek's ongoing impact. Rabbi Shai-Held points out that the 18th century Hasidic teacher Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev said the following: "It seems that not only are the children of Israel commanded to blot out Amalek, but also every individual must blot out that evil part called Amalek, which is hidden in his or her own heart. Amalek exists in the evil potential within the person, which awakens anew again and again." Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not blaming the victim, and I'm not conflating what's going on inside of us and the actions of others. But as we embrace the memory of Amalek, as we recognize the memory and impact of last Shabbat, Let us continue to follow the message of last week's Torah portion. For Rabbi Held warns us that we must be willing to recognize the individual potential within ourselves. At this moment, not exactly how he wrote it, I would use it as a reminder that part of that potential is to react to last week by simply building walls and shutting down. But we need to maintain the blessing of that Torah portion, the blessing of its understanding of reality. We cannot close our arms and our hearts. Neither can we shut our eyes and leave ourselves vulnerable. Thus, if and only if we are willing to protect our doors and also open them at the right moment, if and only if we are willing to perform acts of community service and social justice while also safeguarding our community and its members, if and only if is the balance we must strike between caring for others and caring for ourselves. Then, as we rise up, our stance will have both integrity and wisdom and sustain us for the future. Amen.
You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we're gonna walk this out. Move mountains, we're gonna walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, rise unafraid. I'll rise up and I'll do it 1,000 times again. I'll rise up, high like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up and do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you. I'll rise up, rise like the day. I'll rise up, I'll rise unafraid. I'll rise up and I'll do it 1,000 times again. I'll rise up, oh high like the waves. I'll rise up, in spite of the ache. I'll rise up and I'll do it 1,000 times again. For you, for you, for you, I'll rise for you.
We turn to page 282 as we rise for Aleinu.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת קרבה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים
Page 292, the second paragraph. The psalmist said that in his affliction he learned the law of God, and in truth, grief is a great teacher when it sends us back to serve and bless the living. We learn how to counsel and comfort those who, like ourselves, are bowed with sorrow. We learn when to keep silent in their presence and when a word will assure them of our love and concern. Thus, even when they are gone, the departed are with us, moving us to live as in their higher moments they themselves wish to live. We remember them now, they live in our hearts. They are an abiding blessing. Page 293. Our thoughts turn now to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. On this Shabbat, we especially remember those whose deaths and funerals have occurred just during the past month, the period of Shloshim. William Bill Shevker, Geneva Smith, Roger Gluckman, Lynn Spivak, Linda Berkowitz, Sheldon Kaplan, Buddy Kaufman, Edward Rosenberg, Dr. Stephen Backrack, Ada Lloyd, Alwyn Herbst, Harriet Greenberg, Grazette Ramin, Marilyn Davidson, and Dorothy Fox. We announce with sorrow the passing of Sheldon Sandler, husband of our member Carol Sandler. The funeral arrangements are private. Our sincere condolences to the family. And we mark the following Yahrzeits anniversaries of a death which have been requested to be read. Daniel Aiken, Max Alexander, Sylvia Baruch, Samuel Braverman, Rena Chapin, Charles Cohen, Samuel Cohen, Albert Diener, Mildred Du Bois, Charles Epstein, Rose Frank, Louis Frank Sr., Sylvia Getlin, Milton Glazer, Helen Goldman, B. Goldstein, Dora Gutman, Elsie Gutman, Rabbi Adolf Gutmacher, B.B. Hecht, Hilda Himmelrich, Eleanor O. Hirsch, Sophie Hurwitz, Saul Eichen, Rachel Imhoff, Bertha Jandorf, Jeanette Coleman, Melvin Kabik, Martin Katz, Morton Kramer, Pauline Kramer, Hyman Linder, Bessie Miller, Louis Miller, Ruth Oppenheimer, Edward Pearson, William Quirnbach, Ruth Rosenbaum, Morris Rosenfeld, Walter Rosenthal, Bruce Shackman, Saul Chevelle, Rose Steinbach, Jeanette Woolman, and Fanny Zipkin. As we remember them and all we've loved and lost, I'd like to invite those who are in mourning or marking a yahrzeit to please rise first. And if it is your custom, I invite you to rise together in community. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, Bi'alma divra kirutei v'almik malchutei, B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dekol Beit Yisrael, Bagalav izman kariv imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalel v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha b'richu, Leila minkol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiran b'yalma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'imru amen. As we thank God for life and peace for us, for all Israel, and for all humanity, I ask your forgiveness actually for not having us pay special attention to one of the Yahrzeits this evening, Rabbi Adolf Gutmacher, who of course was rabbi of this congregation in the late 19th century. As we think of him and his work and the legacy we stand in, may God bless us with peace for us and all, and let us say amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. Thanks to the moment in the pandemic, you're stuck with me reading the announcements, not a new voice. We are glad to be both in person and streaming. Anyone attending services should be fully vaccinated, including a booster. They should be wearing a KN95, N95, or double masked Double mask means wearing a surgical mask covered by a well-fitted cloth mask. Cloth masks are no longer sufficient on their own. If you think that's wordy, you should have heard the task force try to get it down to one quick paragraph, actually. And we thank them for their continuing concern and volunteer efforts. On Saturday morning, join us for Torah Talk at 9 a.m. via Zoom. Our Shabbat morning service is at 10:30 a.m. here in the sanctuary, led by our Rabbi Emeritus, Rabbi Buchdahl, and by Becky Mann. Our Mincha Havdalah service will be at 5 p.m. as we celebrate with Dana and Brian Polera as their son, Isabella, becomes a bat mitzvah. That's what it says. It has her full name here. Youth Education, Adult Hebrew, and our new PEP Adult Education courses pick back up this Sunday and will all be virtual until further notice. This semester's PEP courses just starting are with Rabbi Amy Scheinerman, Talmud's Wealth of Wisdom, and with our congregant, Dr. Susanna Garfine, an Introduction to Jewish Law. Newcomers are welcome. On Monday, this Monday, from 11 to 11:30, please drop your casseroles at BHC. They will be delivered to our daily bread. Casseroles should be frozen. They can be store-bought, mac and cheese, lasagna, or home-cooked barbecue chicken. The chicken recipe is specific and available from the temple office. This one's in person. Monday, I guess so is the casserole drop-off, to be honest. Monday is BHC's communal blood drive. We have not done this yet in the pandemic, but it is an important need we can fill from 2 to 7 p.m. on Monday. Please register for an appointment online in advance. Our final winter nights on Park Heights is this Tuesday, January 23rd at 7 p.m. on Zoom. Rabbi Debbie Pine of Hillel International will lead a discussion entitled Understanding Gen Z. On Wednesday at 7:30 p.m., women of BHC present Dishonor, Jewish Badges of Medieval Europe, with Dr. Sarah Jablon Roberts of Johnson & Wales University. Next Friday is a little unusual. Next Friday, January 28th, BHC will not be holding a service here in our building, in this sanctuary. Rather, we will join together for our annual Union for Reform Judaism Shabbat across the street at what is now Har Sinai Oheb Shalom congregation. We will also be joined by Bolton Street Synagogue there. Cantor Rosalie will be the special guest. The service will be on Zoom, not stream, on a different account. Just look to our emails during the week. And it is possible to attend at Har Sinai Oheb Shalom in person. It's just a little different than coming here. You actually need to fill out an online form in advance and also reserve a spot because space is limited. So if you think our paragraph's wordy, imagine what their paragraph is regarding the pandemic. Learn more about these and other BHC opportunities from our website, the Temple Bulletin, and our emails. Let me thank our ushers on behalf of all of us. Richard Peterson, our usher chair, welcomes new ushers. If you're interested, please simply contact the Temple office. With all that in mind, in this Shabbat of life with a baby naming and a bat mitzvah, we turn to page 338. As we close with Adonai O's, please rise.
These words from Psalm 29. May Adonai grant strength to our people. May Adonai bless our people with peace. Adonai Oz le'amo yitain. Adonai yivarech et amo. Adonai Oz le'amo yitain. Adonai yivarech et amo.
Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, our God and God of our ancestors, may the words of the newly and unintentionally famous Rabbi Charlie Citron Walker be both encouragement and true. As he said to a reporter, it's safe to go to shul. Shabbat Shalom.
I guess I prepared you for the 100 so much, maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought. Yeah, that is good. We have what did I say? It's 9:15 to 10. Yeah, 9:15. Yes, thank you. Yeah, because we have a. Did I say 10:15 here?
Yeah, he said 10:15 hit in your chest.
Oh, wow. That's where it should be a 9:15 here.
9:15 is fine, but yeah, let's clear that up.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. It should be 9:15 tomorrow morning.
That's what I have.
That's weird. You have 9:15?
That's what's in my calendar. Okay.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
It's all good.
Oh, yeah.
Better safe than sorry.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yes. Yeah, because we have it's a 10:30 service.
10:30, yeah.
So, it's an hour, and then, 15 minutes, and then we go, so. Thank you, yeah.